Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Tuesday, November 10th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. That was some spectacle in Salt Lake City on Sunday night when Sporting Kansas City took a 2-0 victory over Real Salt Lake. The game was played in a snowstorm, and during the second half, no lines on the field were visible. But Sporting held on for the victory that clinched the Western Conference championship. It also did this. Sporting became the best turnaround team in MLS history, finishing 10 places higher in the standing over the previous season. That's right, Sporting was 11th in the conference in 2019. So, great night all around for the club, and beat writer Shaun Goodwin is here to talk about it. We get into Sunday's victory and look ahead to the MLS playoffs. So, let's get started with Shaun Goodwin. Shaun, I don't know if we haven't traveled to any Sporting Kansas City games this year, but it strikes me that the game on Sunday night against Real Salt Lake would have been one that would have been fun to see in person.
You know, I wish it was, at least in Kansas City, or I wish I was there. I can't say I've played in many snow games myself. Back when I was playing Youth League, usually just call them off. So, plus because I've got us frolicking about with my friends, just, not in a professional game, but to watch it, that was great. I'm sure playing in it, though, just knowing what it's like to try and kick a ball through what looked like ends up being a couple of, 1 or 2 inches of snow, running through that, making passes through that. It can't have been too fun for the players, but it was a great spectacle for us, I'll tell you that much.
It looked to me like they were playing on top of an air hockey table, and it was because the entire field was white. And I noticed when I turned the game on after getting back from covering the Chiefs game that in a case like this, you've got to use a different colored ball.
Yeah.
Because the white ball is not going to work when there's that much snow on the ground.
Yeah, it's the infamous orange ball, and I don't know why, but soccer fans just have this obsession over it almost. Like it's this huge moment when we get to use the orange ball. So I'm trying to think of a comparison in sports where you use something different depending on the weather. I don't know if you have anything, Blair, but starting a game, there goes some snow, but you could still see the lines, you could see some of the green of the grass, and I was like, yeah, the orange ball is helpful, but it's not necessary. And by the time we got to the second half, you couldn't even see the lines on the field. It was just, as you said, it was an ice rink of snow. And the orange ball really helped at that point. But, it's always fun when we get to pull out that orange ball and, give it a little bit of time in the sun, or the snow, I should say.
Well, and of course, the result was exactly what Sporting Kansas City needed. It was a 2-0 victory and clinched first place in the Western Division and set it up for us, Shaun. Sporting had to have that outcome to be in first place.
Yeah, so you asked what needed to happen for them to finish in first, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, so, Sporting looked good for a little while, especially when it was going by just pure points like any other season. But obviously, with all the COVID cancellations and whatnot, one of the big ones being Colorado, I think they only finished the season with 18 games, I believe, to a lot of other teams, 21, 22, 23 games. So they moved that points per game, which at first looked like it was going to harm Sporting KC just because other teams, namely Seattle and Portland, they had more games left on their schedule, which of course, if they drop points, it hurts, but if they win, it's giving them that little extra bit of a boost. But throughout midweek, Portland went and lost to Colorado 1-0. Or Seattle lost to Colorado 1-0. Portland tied LA Galaxy 1-1. So they both dropped points and basically put Sporting KC's fate in their own hands heading into his final game. Because the points per game had went down for those other two teams, so Sporting won first. All they had to do, regardless of games played, regardless of total points, is had to go to Salt Lake, pick up the win, and because of points per game, that would confirm we finished outright first place.
And that is significant for a couple of reasons, not the least of which they're the top seed in the in the Western Division playoffs. But even more so, it completes a turnaround from last year's regular season finish, which is really kind of amazing to go from where Sporting went in 2019 to where they finished in 2020.
Yeah.
Take us through what the distinction of Sporting Kansas City's first place finish.
Yeah, so I mean, it was the greatest season-to-season turnaround in MLS history. Obviously, 11th place last year, jumping up to first. That was previously held by DC United, who finished 10th in 2013 and then won the East in 2014. But I don't think any of us honestly saw this coming. I remember it was after the MLS's back tournament. So Sporting starting the season well. We've shown decent glimpses, a little bit of shakiness in the tournament, and I was on a 10. And I think I remember saying that the Sporting team absolutely has the ability to make it back into the playoffs. Obviously, they signed Polito and Kinder and whatnot. But I honestly thought I was a team that would finish, 5th, 6th, 7th place in the West. Do enough to get back in the playoffs, but still sort of be recovering and rebuilding from that 2019 season. But, they came out, they had a little shaky part in the middle of the season, but over the last 6, 7, 8 games, I can't tell you the exact records, but I believe aside from the ties to Chicago, and they also lost one of the game to Dallas 1-0. They won pretty much every single game in the run-up to this regular season showdown at Salt Lake. So, yeah, even 6 weeks ago, I couldn't have told you Sporting finished first, honestly. So for them to go on the run they've done, win all the games they've won in the fashion they've done so, it's huge props to the staff, to Peter Vermeer's team, just to stick to what they believe in at Sporting, come out now with this greatest turnaround in MLS history.
And we're going to hear from Peter Vermees after we take a break. And he addressed that it was an answer to your question to him after the game. He was basically said that they continue to have faith in the culture of Sporting Kansas City. And I thought that was a good answer. That's they've you take years and years and years to develop a winning culture, and that's what's happened at Sporting Kansas City. So when there is a finish like last year, for various reasons, right? They went through a ton of injuries, and there was just all kinds of attrition on last year's team. That you do have that culture to rely on, to fall back on, and it really made a difference for this year's team. What also made a difference is they lineup shifted a little bit. They added some players, and it's a little bit of a different team than what we saw in 2019. Let's spin it forward and look ahead at the playoffs, which don't start until the following week. Sporting knows its first round opponent. How are the playoffs going to set up, and who will Sporting play in its first game? And I don't think we have an exact date yet.
No, so Sporting is set to play eventual 8th place finishers, San Jose Earthquakes. They will play on November 21st, 22nd, or 24th. There should be announcements on the complete schedule coming out soon. But honestly, it could be a trap game for Sporting KC. I mean, obviously, the run they've been on, finishing, being a 1 seed, you still expect them to win. But unlike most of the sports we know, MLS Cup playoffs, it's just one game, winner takes all. It's not like NHL, NBA. I guess it's very akin to NFL, I guess, right? Sporting is the better team, but one, because have an off day, it hurts. But I mean, you look at the San Jose team, they've either had terrible results, they've lost 5-0 to Colorado, 6-1 to Portland, 7-1. These are all losses to Seattle, but on the flip side, then they've come out and they're picking up good wins. They obviously beat Salt Lake 2-0. They beat LAFC recently 3-2 with a red card. So San Jose is this weird team of either they completely get blown out or they pull off these surprise, almost upset results. So if Sporting have a bad game, if San Jose come out really wanting it, even with it being a home playoff game, Sporting KC fans shouldn't be looking forward to, we'll move past the earthquakes, we'll look forward to the next round, which is either Minnesota or Colorado.
Right, and the first game against the Quakes, it's one and done, right? It's not a series; it's one game for advancement.
Yeah, it's just one game, and that's all the way through the playoffs. So, in essence, Sporting, every team in the playoffs is only 4 wins away from glory at this point, opposed to 16 in NHL, something like that. So, yeah, just one and done. And the big thing of that one seed as well is now, at least in the Western Conference, the MLS Cup runs through Children's Mercy Park. If you look at the overall standings, Sporting finished third overall. So unless they face Toronto or Philadelphia in MLS Cup, any other team below that, the MLS Cup runs through Children's Mercy Park if Sporting makes it all the way to the championship game.
And that's quite an advantage. I know that Peter Vermees was asking for or hoping that maybe they can get some more fans allowed into Children's Mercy Park for the postseason. So, okay, well, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll hear from Peter Vermees. Shaun Goodwin, great catching up with you, and we will do it again before the playoffs start.
Always happy to, Blair. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Stars award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Well, we faced a lot this year, and I guess it was apropos that we play our game in a blizzard, couldn't see the lines. I have to say, look, it was. I actually think the referees did a great job. It was just a tough game, just all around. We had to change our game plan coming into the place once we saw the snow on the field, and we had to completely change. And I give the guys a lot of credit because they did exactly what we were hoping to do, to be honest with you, based on the conditions. We talked about set pieces, how important they were going to be. And we talked about how we felt that we could get, especially in the second half, down the channels on them. And so when we brought Eric on, he makes a great diagonal run, gets the second goal, and puts us in a really good position because we knew we were going to suffer some onslaught late in the game with them just hitting balls long, and it put us under pressure a little bit. But I thought that the back line did a great job, and Timmy as well.
Next question goes to Shaun Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Shaun, your line is open.
Peter, congrats on first place, obviously. And not sure if you know, but you guys now hold the records for the greatest season-to-season bounce from 11th to 1st. Just with that in mind, and now you guys have finally done it, how proud are you of the guys and their mentality to get to this point?
Well, I'm proud of the guys. I'm also proud of the staff and the club. And the reason being is because, last year was a very tough year for us with all the injuries we suffered. And, it was a really tough year in that regard. And I felt bad for the guys because I thought we had a very good team. And it just, some things just didn't go our way. But more importantly, the injuries just were too much for us to overcome. And I say the staff also because what the staff didn't do is the staff didn't panic. We've always been in it. Unfortunately, the year didn't go as we had planned, but we stayed the course. We stayed to who we are. We remained loyal and committed to our culture, and we believed. And so this has been a tough year, but I have to say for us to be able to achieve first place in the West based on the circumstances, it was incredibly difficult. And then when things changed at points per game, and then we had games canceled, it's easy for the guys to have mentally checked out in certain situations. And they found a way each time. And so I give them a lot of credit in this year for the mentality that they've had. We all have to endure all these new things, and the guys have adapted and adjusted and found success. And so I'm proud of them, and I can't say enough good things about them and the staff.
Next question goes to Allie Trost with Sports Radio 8 WHB. Allie, your line is open.
Hey, Coach, and along with clinching the number 1 seed comes home field advantage with all of the difficulties and travel and all of the changes in that regard. And then when you factor in Sporting Kansas City and Children's Mercy Park allowing fans, just how crucial was it to get that home field advantage through the playoffs?
It's a big goal of ours every year. We always want to, in some way, shape, or form, be in the top 2 to get some home field advantage. And so when we got, we weren't sure when it was 3 games ago and they were getting canceled on us, we started to get concerned because now all of a sudden we're losing opportunities, and we have an incredible respect for the other teams in our conference as well in the league. And so what we were nervous about was and concerned about was the fact that we might, as you guys know, not hold destiny in our hands. And so somehow, with a couple of different results, next thing you know, we came down to this last game. And again, I tell you, tonight was, you guys probably saw it on TV or whatever, but it was amazing on the field. It was just, there's nothing you could do. I mean, couldn't even play all that well, but we found a way. And so, I say it was big for us. It's big for the club. It's big for the city. Home field advantage is obviously much more important when you do have your full stadium, but having some fans is big, is really big. And so hopefully, I don't know, I'm putting it out there. Maybe we can increase the number for our first playoff game. That'd be great.
Next question goes to Daniel Sperry with Last Word on Soccer. Daniel, your line is open.
Hey, Peter, you said you had to change the game plan up a little bit. What do you have to do? What's the game plan when you're playing in snow that's borderline ankle deep?
Well, we couldn't build out of the back. That was a given. We had to be very concerned about them playing long balls and then picking up second balls. And you couldn't take chances when it came to, any balls played directly in. You just needed to really clear them. It wasn't a game to be bringing the ball down and then, trying to find the open man and keep possession. And then the other is that we had to have a lot of runs out of midfield. And then the forwards had to really make diagonal runs and try to get in behind. And the timing of all that stuff had to be on as well. And so, I think the second goal was definitely a big, it took the pressure off. It took everything off. But the second goal was exactly, like I said, what we talked about. And that was a big part of going into the second half to try to play into those channels, because we really felt when Eric came in, it was going to be a place that he could exploit them.
Next question goes to Phil West with MLSsoccer.com. Phil, your line is open.
Hello. Thank you. And yeah, congrats, Peter, on the win and getting into the playoffs. And just wanted to ask you what this means to you, and particularly thinking about the first matchup against San Jose and then maybe going against some of the other teams who might have been picked to be the West winners this year. Yeah,
look, we know how tough it is, in our conference. It's very tough. There's a lot of really good teams. And so it's a really proud moment for the club, for the staff, for the team, for the fans. It's not easy to slug away like we are right now and keep fighting through all the different things that are happening and finding a way to find success. It's not easy. And so proud of everybody for that. I've always been a big believer that when you get into these types of environments where, it's postseason. The bottom line, everybody who got there is there because they found a way and they're fighting for it. And so my respect is immense for all the other teams and all the other staffs that I've had that go through this profession. It's not easy. It's tough. And when you get to this part, the postseason, there's a difference. And what happens is that I don't care who you face. It's a new season, and anything can happen on any given day. And so these are 1-game finals now. And, it doesn't matter who we play. We have to be ready because the other team is going to be ready. So we have to be ready. And whether it's San Jose or anyone else, we know that they're going to be a tough opponent, and we're going to have to be ready for the game.
Final 2 questions. We'll go to Allie Trost and Shaun Goodwin. Up first, Allie Trost with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Allie, your line is open.
Coach, going into a game like tonight's where there are such unusual conditions, typically players, you tend to lean on experience. Have you or any other players on this team in your conversations ahead of time played in a snow game quite like the one that you saw in Salt Lake City?
I've actually played in quite a few of them, especially when I played in Europe. Played in quite a few. So I think there was quite a few guys on our team that have played in those environments before, for sure. And then, I think, again, with all the things that guys had to adapt and to adjust to just this year, I don't think they even blinked when they knew we had to go out in the field and do what we had to do. They understood, and they were ready to go. Nobody's complaining. Nobody was, whining. They were just like, listen, all right, okay, this is what we got to do. Let's go, guys. And they were fighting for it. So that's where you know that you've taken a big, giant step forward.
Final question goes to Shaun Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Shaun, your line is open.
Peter, at least on TV, it looked like the snow really picked up the last 35 minutes. Say it was a tie, you needed to score. Do you feel, how difficult was it have been for you guys to grab a goal in those conditions later in the game? And because of that, do you feel fortunate you scores a little bit earlier?
Are you talking hypotheticals now? Because we just won the game 2-0. I mean, Shaun, you kidding me? We were look. We did what we had to do. We won the first half, as I told the guys, and the only thing they had to do now was at least tie the second half, and so that's all we had to do. We were ready for it. So the 2 goals were what we talked about, which is fantastic, and we were prepared for them. So it's nice to be prepared for something and then execute on it. So the guys did a great job.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Shaun Goodwin for stopping by and talking sporting Kansas City in the MLS. Links to his stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we've got another deal for you, especially for those that want to deep dive into the Stars' terrific Chiefs coverage. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. Here's how to get it. Go to kansascity.com/SportsPass2020. That's kansascity.com/SportsPass2020. Do you want more than just sports coverage? I know I do. Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports, news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if you're having trouble hunting down any of these offers, just send me an email, bkerkhoff@kcstar.com, and I'll get you to the right place. So whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best news and sports coverage in Kansas City, and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another episode.